The gym smelled like sweat, new sneakers, and the faint rubber scent of basketballs that had been used just a little too long. The squeak of shoes echoed against the polished wooden court as the Westfield High basketball team finished their warm-up laps. Most of the players were talking, laughing, hyped for the new season. Jordan Miles wasn't talking. Not because he didn't want to. He just didn't know where he fit yet. It was his first day on this team. He had just transferred from the city after his mom got a new job. He was tall, lean, and moved like someone who understood the court, not just played on it. Every step had rhythm. Every movement had control. Basketball wasn't just a sport to him. It was part of his breathing. But Coach Reynolds didn't see that. He watched from the sidelines, arms crossed over his chest, whistle hanging loose around his neck. He was in his late 40s, with a weathered voice and the confidence of someone who'd been running the show for far too long without being challenged. He watched Jordan with narrowed eyes, not observing potential, but judging. Jordan joined the team huddle, standing a little off to the side. He nodded when players introduced themselves. Then Coach stepped in. "All right, listen up," he said. "We got a new player joining us." He looked at Jordan. "Miles, right?" "Yes, sir." Coach nodded slowly, but his expression stayed flat. "We run a disciplined team here. No showboating, no ego, no attitude." The way he said the last word had weight. He didn't look at the others when he said it. Only at Jordan. A couple of players shifted awkwardly. Jordan felt the message. He just nodded. Understood. But Coach wasn't done. "We earn our starting spots. Nothing's given. So don't expect to walk in here and take over just because you played somewhere else." Jordan didn't flinch. He had heard that tone before. "I'm just here to play hard and help the team," he said simply. Coach Reynolds raised an eyebrow, like he didn't believe him. Practice began. They ran drills, passing, layups, defense rotations. Jordan moved with precision. Every pivot was clean. Every shot was controlled. He didn't talk trash, didn't show off. He just played. But every time he made a good move, Coach called out, "Don't hold the ball so long, Miles. Keep your shoulders square, Miles. Don't get fancy, Miles." Even when Jordan did it right, some of the players started watching him quietly, seeing what Coach refused to see. Ben, the team captain, nudged another player and whispered, "He's good, like, really good." Jordan heard it, but he stayed focused. They scrimmaged near the end of practice. First play, Jordan got the ball. He didn't hesitate. He read the defense, cut left, passed behind his back to Ben for a clean layup. Perfect basketball IQ. The gym reacted with a small ripple of surprise. Coach's whistle shrieked through the air. "Bench!" The room froze. Jordan blinked. "Sir?" Coach didn't even look at him. "I said bench. Sit down. Watch. Maybe learn something." Some of the players looked uncomfortable. One murmured, "But that pass was—" Coach shot him a glare. Silence. Jordan walked to the bench quietly. No anger, no argument, just understanding. He had seen this kind of thing before. Coach turned back to the team. "Let that be a reminder. This team doesn't need flair. We need obedience." Jordan watched the court, not the floor. He studied plays, he studied reactions, he studied weaknesses. And he knew something Coach didn't. He wasn't benched because he lacked skill. He was benched because he had it. Presence, talent, potential to change the hierarchy. And that scared people like Coach Reynolds. Jordan didn't feel discouraged. He felt patient. He knew something the coach didn't know yet. He wasn't there to take a spot. He was there to earn a victory. And when the time came, he would lead them there. The first game of the season came faster than anyone expected. The bleachers were packed, the gym buzzing with that specific electricity that only high school sports can generate. Parents waved handmade posters, kids shouted from the student section, and the drumline pounded out a heartbeat rhythm that filled the air with anticipation. Jordan sat at the far end of the bench, jersey on, warm-up pants still on, hands folded loosely in his lap. He wasn't slumped. He wasn't nervous. He was still, watching, calculating. Coach Reynolds stood at the center of the court, clipboard in hand, calling out the starting lineup. "Ben, Kyle, Marcus, Drew, Tyler. Not Jordan, no surprise. Jordan simply nodded to himself and clapped politely as the starters jogged onto the court. Ben, the team captain, glanced back at Jordan as he took his position. He gave him a tiny, acknowledging nod, the kind you give someone you respect. The referee blew the whistle, and the game began. The first quarter was chaos. The opposing team, the Ridgeview Hawks, were fast, aggressive, and synchronized in a way that only comes from playing together for a long time. Westfield, on the other hand, looked like 5 separate players instead of one team. Miscommunication, forced shots, missed rebounds. Within 3 minutes, they were down 12-4. Coach was pacing, jaw clenched, shouting plays that were falling apart before they even formed. The bench shifted uncomfortably. The crowd's cheering dimmed into nervous murmurs. Ben did everything he could. He ran plays, directed teammates, defended hard. But he wasn't getting support. He wasn't the problem. The system was. Jordan saw it clearly. They were predictable. Their spacing was off. Their defense collapsed inward instead of pressing out. Ridgeview took advantage every time. Second quarter. Score 26-14. Coach called a timeout. Players gathered around him, sweaty breath fogging the space between them. "We're rushing," he barked. "We need discipline. Run the sets exactly as I drew up." Marcus spoke up, hesitant. "Coach, the sets aren't working. They're switching screens too fast. Maybe we should—" Coach cut him off. "I said, run the sets." Silence. Jordan stayed seated, but his eyes stayed sharp, absorbing every detail. He didn't need to be on the court to understand the game. He lived the game. The timeout ended. Players returned to the floor. The same mistakes continued. Halftime score 41-26. The gym felt heavier now. Students slumped. Parents frowned. The cheer squad's chants lost their sparkle. In the locker room, Coach paced. "You're not listening," he snapped. "You're acting like you've already lost." Ben wiped sweat from his forehead and finally spoke. Not defiant, just honest. "Coach, we need Jordan." Coach froze. The room froze with him. He turned slowly. "We don't need show-offs." Jordan looked up from where he sat. "I'm not trying to show off," he said calmly. "I just want to help." His tone didn't challenge. It offered. Coach scoffed. "You think you know more than me? You think you can fix this?" Jordan shook his head. "No, sir. I think we can fix this. Together. You know these players. I know how to break Ridgeview's rotations. If we combine that—" Coach interrupted again, voice sharper. "You're benched. That's final." The room deflated. Ben's jaw tightened. "Coach," he tried once more, "you're letting your pride lose us this game." The sentence hung in the air. Everyone heard it. Everyone knew it was true. Coach stared at Ben for a long moment. Then he said, slow and cold, "If you like running your mouth so much, you can sit too." The locker room went silent. Ben didn't argue. He just sat down next to Jordan. Jordan looked at him. "You didn't have to do that." Ben shrugged. "Yeah, I did." The buzzer sounded for the start of the third quarter. The team walked back out. Jordan remained on the bench. But now? The crowd knew. The players knew. Ben knew. And deep, deep inside, even if he wouldn't say it, Coach knew. Jordan didn't just belong on that court. He was the key to winning it. The third quarter unfolded like a slow-motion collapse. Without Ben directing the court, and without Jordan's vision, the team played scattered, unfocused, and tired. Ridgeview widened the lead with effortless confidence. Their guards slipped through screens. Their forwards crashed the boards untouched. Every play Westfield ran looked forced. Every shot felt desperate. The crowd's cheers had thinned into uneasy silence, broken only by squeaks of sneakers and the echo of the scoreboard buzzer, marking yet another point scored against them. Jordan sat still at the end of the bench, elbows on his knees, eyes sharp. He wasn't pouting or frustrated. He was studying, watching footwork, recognizing patterns, calculating timing. Basketball was a language, and he was listening to every sentence the other team spoke. Meanwhile, Coach Reynolds paced up and down the sideline, his voice getting more strained with every second. He shouted the same instructions over and over, like volume could fix strategy. Run the play! Stick to the coverage! Reset! 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 But nothing reset. Everything got worse. Midway through the third quarter, Ridgeview stole the ball yet again and made a fast break. The crowd let out a disappointed groan. Westfield players looked defeated, shoulders drooping, legs heavy. They weren't just losing on the scoreboard, they were losing belief. Ben leaned toward Jordan, voice low. If coach won't put you in soon, we're done. Jordan didn't answer. His focus was already somewhere else, on the court, on rhythm, on opportunity. He could see how the other team relied on a single playmaker to set the pace. Shut him down, and everything else crumbled. But sitting on the bench didn't give him a chance to show that. The buzzer sounded to end the quarter. Score 59-38. 21 points down. The gym felt colder now. Students slumped in the bleachers. Parents whispered, shaking their heads. The cheer squad clapped out of obligation, not enthusiasm. The bench walked back to the locker room like they were dragging chains behind them. But Jordan walked in quietly. Not defeated, not angry, just resolute. The locker room felt tight and airless. Coach grabbed the clipboard and slammed it against the whiteboard. This is embarrassing, he snapped. You're not even trying. Ben stood up slowly. We are trying. We're just trying to do something that doesn't work. Coach's face flushed. You think you know better than me again? No, Ben said. Then he pointed, not at the clipboard, not at Coach, but at Jordan. He does. Everyone turned to look at Jordan. Jordan didn't stand up. He stayed seated, voice calm. I know how to break their playmaker. I've played against him before in City League. He always drives left before passing off the screen. If we tighten the left hip angle and cut off his lane, he panics. They lose rhythm. The room was silent. Coach stared at him. Jordan continued, steady and sure. Ben needs to be back on point. Marcus switches on the screen instead of chasing. I'll take the left hip. The pace changes. They lose flow. We get transition points. That's how we close the gap. No ego, no swagger, just clarity. The team leaned in. They knew he was right. Coach's jaw tightened. He wanted to argue. He wanted to say no. He wanted to protect his pride, his authority, his control. But then he looked at the scoreboard, at his exhausted players, at the team that was falling apart under his leadership, and he finally saw what had been in front of him the whole time. This wasn't about him. It was about winning. It was about the team. It was about doing what was right. He exhaled slowly, shoulders dropping. Fine, he said. Miles. You're in. The locker room didn't explode into cheers. It didn't need to. Everyone just stood a little taller. Ben clapped Jordan on the shoulder. Let's go make history. They walked back onto the court together, and for the first time all night, the gym leaned forward, because everyone could feel it. Something had just shifted. When Jordan stepped onto the court, the gym changed. Not loud, not explosive, just a subtle shift of attention. The student section leaned forward. The opposing bench straightened. Even the referees glanced his way. Something was different now, and everyone could feel it. Ben inbounded the ball. Jordan moved like he'd been on this floor 100 times already. No hesitation, no nerves. He slid into position, calm as a held breath. Ridgeview's point guard, Trey Williams, dribbled with a swagger that came from being ahead by 21 points. He smirked at Jordan, as if this were going to be easy. Jordan didn't respond. He just watched his hips. The moment Trey drove left, just like Jordan said he would, Jordan slid into the lane clean, body angled perfectly, cutting him off. Trey stumbled, thrown completely off rhythm. His pass came late, sloppy. Ben leapt in, stole it clean, and sprinted down the court. Layup. 2 points. The crowd didn't erupt yet, but it sparked. Ridgeview tried the same play again. Screen, drive, left. Jordan was already there. This time, he didn't just cut off the lane. He tapped the ball loose. Ben scooped it again. Fast break to Marcus. Dunk. The gym woke up. The crowd rose to its feet. The band kicked the drums harder. The cheer squad forgot they had been tired. The court felt alive. Ridgeview scrambled, trying to recover, but Jordan wasn't reacting to them. He was predicting them. He anticipated rotations. He called screens before they formed. He directed spacing with one gesture of his hand, and the entire team responded like they had been playing together for years instead of minutes. Coach Reynolds stood on the sideline, clipboard hanging uselessly at his side, watching the thing he had tried to suppress. Leadership. Not loud leadership, not ego, not force. Leadership that came from understanding the game deeper than most ever would. Point by point, possession by possession, the score began to close. 59-45, 59-50, 61-54. The gym was roaring now, shaking with hope. Ridgeview called a timeout. Their coach shouted, frantic, pointing at Jordan like he was the problem that needed solving. But there was no solving him. He didn't dominate with flashy moves. He dismantled rhythm. When the fourth quarter started, Ridgeview was already rattled. Jordan caught the inbound pass. Ben set a screen. Jordan cut inside, drew the defense, kicked the ball to Marcus at the corner. 3. The gym exploded. The lead was down to 4. The crowd chanted his name now, shouting it like they had known him forever. Jordan! 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 But Jordan didn't celebrate. He didn't pump his fist or shout. He simply pointed to the paint, calling the next formation. Focused. Unshakable. A minute left. Score, 67-66. Westfield down by 1. Ridgeview had the ball. Trey tried to drive again, but Jordan was there first, body poised, calm, impossible to get past. Trey panicked and threw a hurried pass. Ben read it. Intercepted. The gym inhaled all at once. 10 seconds left. Ben dribbled up the court. Jordan moved to the corner, but he wasn't looking to shoot. He watched the defense collapse toward him, and when they did, he passed. Marcus caught the ball at the top of the key, wide open. He took the shot. The ball sailed, hung in the air. Everything went silent. Swish. 69-67. The gym exploded so loudly it felt like the floor shook. The buzzer sounded. Game over. Ben grabbed Jordan in a tight, joyful hug. Teammates crowded in. The student section poured to the railings, screaming. Parents clapped, stomped, shouted his name. But Jordan didn't look at any of them first. He looked at Coach Reynolds. Coach was standing still, hands at his sides, chest rising and falling with something that wasn't anger anymore. It was realization. It was respect. And it was regret. Jordan didn't gloat. He didn't smirk. He just nodded. Small, steady, like saying, I'm here. I never needed to prove it. You just needed to see it.